Okay.
FYI. So you asked about the privacy policy and whether you
Yep.
should be using what I provided versus creating your own.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, are you worried that it's not a fit? What's your
Oh,
question
I
around?
just was worried about stealing your stuff. I didn't know if
Oh,
it was for swipe, if it was legit to use the same one
oh,
or
got it. For your other business? Are you talking about using the privacy policy for like your therapy practice or?
no, for just as my privacy policy for my online business.
Yes, 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 yes. That's what you paid for. You paid for the right to use all those documents.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, no, those are the templates. The workshop that we went through is just the holding your hand, and I've got recordings if you need to see the recordings. They're in that Facebook group. Holding
I
your
didn't
hand.
do a workshop. I paid you individually.
Oh, got it. That's right. You were ahead of the curve. But we got the documents delivered, right? Is it
Yep.
just that you haven't plugged them in?
Hmm.
Oh, yes. No, those documents are all ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Okay.
yeah. And if you need help around the plugging them in, or if you have any questions, let me know. Let me go pull up. I'm just gonna let me just peek into something really quick. Do you have somebody that's helping with you with your website?
Allegedly, and well, that's a whole other thing that I won't
Allegedly,
go into.
yes.
But yes, I have somebody that can
Okay,
and will. I just haven't been using her. I've been trying to use a an offshore person, and it's
got it.
been a disaster.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I know they're not always, but this one was. So
Okay.
um,
Well,
so it belongs on my website, and it also I would on anything, any of the page, well, probably all the pages of my website, right? Yeah.
yeah. And if you've got a membership site, like you can plug it in there as well. So basically,
Mhm.
wherever your content is showing up online, you want people exposed to your website terms and conditions, your privacy policy. Both of those should be footer links in the footer menu. You want a pop-up notice. If you can have somebody help you get a cookies consent pop-up notice, and I can resend links to you that will show you what that looks like. It's a free little piece of software. If you have somebody helping you with your website, they can quickly plug it in for you. But that's,
Okay.
you've seen those cookie consent notices that pop up and say,
Yeah.
hey, this site uses cookies to improve your experience, etc. P.S. Here is a link to our privacy policy.
Hmm.
Right. So that's really helpful for achieving constructive notice of your legal terms on your site. And then if you're doing online sales, if you've got a sales funnel, the terms of purchase show up at or immediately before the point of checkout, preferably with one of those check the boxes, right? I have read and agreed to the terms of purchase. But the terms
Hmm.
of purchase don't show up along the bottom alongside the website terms and conditions and the privacy policy. They show up in a different phase of the website experience, only for people that are checking out.
Okay. And for emails about my program and all that, I think I only need to have an unsubscribe thing. Is that right? Or yeah, we don't have to put like all this stuff at the bottom of everything, right?
Now, what do you use for your CRM? Is it
In
Aweber, Infusionsoft?
Infusionsoft.
Infusionsoft, yeah. So they'll have, so long as you filled out your location information correctly, that's automated and that gets plugged into the bottom of every email, the unsubscribe notice. So you're automatically covered there. You just want to
Okay.
make sure that you include a valid mailing address. That's another mistake that people make is they kind of get wonky with that address at the bottom. Like the example I use is there was a business coach who had quite a list, but I remember seeing some emails from her that said 123 somewhere in New Jersey. Totally illegal. You have to have a valid mailing address. It can be a PO box, but you have to have a mailing address where you receive hard copy mail.
Okay.
Okay.
123 in New Jersey. Okay. Yeah, that would not be. All
I'm like,
right.
yeah, she thought she was being clever, but the funny
Yeah,
thing is I
I've got to
emailed
put
her.
my home now because I don't go to my office anymore. So I guess I do have to
Mhm.
change that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and you could, if you've paid for, and you can again check with your registered agent, you can sometimes use their mailing address, especially if they're scanning and forwarding all your mail, right? But you need
Uh-huh.
to have a mailing address where you are able to receive mail.
Okay.
Um, Good questions. And I see that Stacy, I think we lost Marco, but I see Stacy popped a question into the chat.
Good. Okay. I didn't. Yeah. Thank you
No,
so
you're
much
okay. If you
for
have
all
anything
this.
else, hang tight. I just wanted to let Stacy know I'd seen her question. She says she came up with a name, looks to be available through the state. Can I use it before getting around to registering it? It's New Knowledge LLC. Stacy, the answer for that is that no, you shouldn't be using a name, especially if you are like attaching an LLC at the end without actually having formally created that entity, right? If you wanted to just use New Knowledge without the LLC, that's fine. If you haven't created a business entity, that name seems to be available. You've also done searches online and really researched that you're not infringing, even on a national level, anybody's name, right? So I haven't done the search on New Knowledge, but you want to make sure that both nationally and locally it's not being used. But do not put New Knowledge LLC without having actually formed that business. So I hope that helps. Carol, anything else for you?
Um, you just answered something which I forgot was a question.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have to do my LLC for my couples, exceptional couples academy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Get it started.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, probably yes, but I can't think of them now.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay. So just pop back into my email if you have a question. Let me know, or just come to next week's Q&A session. Ask
Are
me
these
anything.
every week?
Every Monday I go live for a little bit.
Okay,
Yep.
great. At 11.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy to get to see you.
I'm happy to get to see you too, and
I
I
know.
can't wait until it can be in person.
I know. We can have a coffee chat. If you need any help with the website, like getting stuff plugged in, I know a guy. Do you know Matthew? Did you meet Matthew McGregor?
Yes, the young guy.
The young guy, he might,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what he's available for, but you could just say, Heather reminded me of your name. My website person kind of went a little crazy or didn't do the work or whatever. Could you help me? And you could tell him, I know you just went through this because I helped him get his legal documents in order. He knows where they go. He knows, what they're supposed to do. You could just say, could you help me get those plugged in?
Okay.
Stacy, so basically, I stay on if people are live and have questions. I see Catherine just joined us, but I can, if you want to reach out to Matthew, that's great. Otherwise, I can send an email reintroducing you
Okay.
if that would be helpful.
No, that's fine. I can get a hold of him.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. But
Okay,
he might be
thanks.
able to help you in a snap. Just get that stuff plugged in, and that way it's
Yep.
handled.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then just let me know if you have any other questions.
Will do.
Awesome. All right. Well, Catherine, I know Stacy's in a meeting, and so she might join us in a little bit if we're still on. Catherine, you are welcome. If you've got a question, if you've got something that I can help you with today, you're welcome to unmute or to type in the chat if you've got something that I can support you with. Let's see if she's there. I thought I saw it unmute, but I'm not hearing anything. Are you with us, Catherine? I'm wondering. Um, I totally understand if you're in a place where you can't talk, but if you're able to access chat or you have a question for me, let me know. Happy to support you. Mm. Zoom is so tricky, right? People accessing from all over in the middle of all kinds of activities. I had a call with a new connection right before this. My husband wasn't home yet. My sweet hubby just brought me down eggs, but I had two of the wildest kids in the background for the entire duration of that call. That advertisement that's on TV right now for Microsoft Teams that shows all the moms and like their kids are like, "Wah," and like throwing balls and like that's my life. That's every second of my life right now.
I was on the radio when the baby was here, and a couple of times she started, "Wah!" How they just go from 0 to 6. My daughter is like, "Ah." She brought her outside, just to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I was laughing. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just like,
it's intense.
hello, this is not.
I know.
First of all, for me, it's like condo life. It's not big enough to get away
Totally.
from noise,
It's
and
really
so it's
true.
just so funny.
Yeah.
It's like,
Um,
oh well,
I
I can't
know.
worry about that.
No, we can't.
We've all been babies.
That's right. That's right. Um, Carol, the other thing I'm thinking of is we should get you on my podcast. I just launched a podcast.
You did?
Yes,
Oh,
it's called Guts, Grit, and Great Business. It's really
gut, grit,
conversations,
and I
great
love
business.
that.
Thank you. But it's really conversations on leadership, on perseverance, on mindset, on making hard decisions in hard places, some of which often become some of the best decisions we ever make, right? Because
Yeah.
we make them in periods of time that are hugely constraining, which provides us focus and clarity. I just had a really interesting conversation with Laura Posey a couple days ago. Her episode's live, but um, you should totally be on there because we talk about life and business. And I think that we could have an interesting conversation about your work in the context of like how you manage crisis and relationship issues at the same time as being an entrepreneur and running a business.
Hmm. One of the things that I've noticed during this COVID thing is uh, very seldom. The only other time was on 9/11.
Mm.
Um, very seldom do I, as a therapist or a coach, am I going through the exact same things as my clients are,
Mm-hmm.
because sort of the gold standard is to have dealt with it yourself, and then you um, can help others,
Mm-hmm.
but not if and so all of this stuff it's simultaneous, and that is a really interesting experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it made me, or not made me, but it prompted me to create a 5-day free course, which I
Mm-hmm.
delivered
Mm-hmm.
on COVID. It was called
Mm.
Relationships and Family Dynamics in a Time of Crisis. And
Oh.
doing it helped me get, back up and get the perspective. I knew I wanted to do it as a kind of a public service, but I
Yeah.
also knew, and I was right, that it would help me get some perspective um, by stepping back a little and then going to the like 10,000 or 20,000 foot level and see what are we going through.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I mean, that's got nothing to do with what we were talking about, but
No, I
that's
love
just
it.
one of the things that.
Did you
Hmm?
record that course? Do you have recordings of it?
Yeah, it was Facebook Lives,
Okay.
and what I was hoping my VA would do, which I had to fire her, and I'm getting a
Mm.
different one, but so it'll be a little bit of a learning curve for her. But I thought she could take those, edit some of the, not edit what I said, because
Mhm.
I don't care if I go bleh, in the middle of a Facebook Live. But the beginning was, weird. Well, no, like before I started talking, I
Mhm.
want that off. And then as I was trying to, a couple of times I couldn't get my arrow to hit the stop recording. So I'm like,
Mhm.
all that goofy stuff. So, but otherwise, I'm very happy with that
Good.
as a thing. It's a
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
course.
Well, awesome. Good work.
Yep.
It sounds like you turned that around in a timely manner, and
Yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah. I surprised myself when somebody said, just do it as a Facebook Live instead of
Yeah.
all the recording and the
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought,
Like
okay,
that's easy. Yeah, totally.
boom.
Very cool.
And I had a lot of people watch.
Good. Oh, I love that. Well, it's I mean, it's no surprise, but I mean, even reading in the news about statistics of all kinds of domestic issues going up, you know,
Mhm.
people are under a lot of stress and strain. And so abuse
Right.
statistics are up, like all kinds of, drinking statistics, I mean, everything, it's,
And and some of the couples I'm working with are actually their silver lining is that um, think of regular life when people go off to work. Maybe they have a squabble in the morning and they hurt
mm-hmm,
each other's feelings somewhat. And then all day they kind of go back and mull it over and
mm-hmm,
ruminate on it. And then they come home and they're just, in a, they was, mm, mm, mm.
yeah.
But when they're there together, they're finding that they just work it out
Oh,
because maybe they
interesting.
get their feelings hurt, but they're still there in the next all those hours. And so maybe when it's only so big, they talk about it and work it through. And I've had 4 different couples say that they're actually getting along better because
Mm-hmm.
little things don't become so big.
Yeah.
Now, for other
Interesting.
people, there's just so many, especially when there's a bunch of kids around,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to both work full
Mm-hmm.
time, that's,
It's a
and they
lot.
don't have a nanny. Some of them that I'm working with have a nanny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a sort of a quarantined nanny or one they trust, to
Yeah.
be quarantined.
Yep. Yep.
But otherwise, it's, well,
Well, and I
you
would
said
expect that, yeah, the type of people that would show up to your course would be the ones that are trying to work on it, right?
yep.
They have some investment in trying to
Hmm.
fix it or turn it around or improve it or whatever.
Right,
But yeah, I think there's probably two ends of the spectrum on that. I think
right.
sometimes if people are flooded or really irritated, that time apart can actually help them calm down. And if you're not getting that, you're in a pressure
Hmm.
cooker.
I think the one thing that a lot of people really felt was so useful is the first day I talked about creating structure,
Hmm.
because structure was completely gone. We expect, um, we get up, we do X, Y, and Z in the morning, we go to work at a certain time at a certain place, we come back, the kids are in school or in daycare, we know, I mean, and then poof, everything is, all that's gone. And there's people that aren't even getting dressed and, any of that stuff. So we talked about creating structure and then creating intentions for the day and how you want to show up that day
Hmm.
as a start, and then
I love it.
scheduling stuff. So
Back to the basics.
that
Good
one
work.
was, there are
Mhm.
people that like 3 weeks ago just figured that out, or just when I said, hey, what structure have you got, is it working? Oh, I
Mhm.
don't have one.
Mhm.
It's just whatever. And I said, oh, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
All right. So I'll send you a link. Let's get you on my podcast to talk about this, especially as it
Good.
relates to the time of COVID.
Or any other thing. I mean,
Mhm.
because really, I want that was interesting and good, but I also want to talk about my program
Oh
that's
yeah,
moving forward because
totally.
hopefully COVID,
Yeah, it comes to an end at some point.
we
uh,
can always hope,
we can
right?
hope. Yes. Who
All
knows?
right, my dear.
It's good to
Well,
see you. Thanks for
all
popping
right.
on today.
Thank you for reminding me and care and checking in. I that meant a lot. I
Well,
needed that.
good. Well, I mean, all of this has happened and it feels like I've been in the middle of a tornado for months now.
Of course, you have been.
I have been, but I didn't want people feeling like I was letting them drop off a cliff. It's like you have been on my mind. I want to make sure that I get everybody across the finish line. If they got that package
Right.
or they got that support, like we need to get it implemented. So just let me know what you need. Connect with Matthew. If he's not a fit, let me know and maybe I can help you find somebody else.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk
Okay.
to you
Yeah.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, I
How are
was
you?
concerned. How long are you on this?
I just stay on if people are here and they have questions,
Oh,
I
okay.
do it just for as long as I need to.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I see Catherine's still on, but I don't know if she's been able to unmute or ask a question. Catherine, I see you. And if you, oh,
Oh,
there you go. Hi there. Feel free to, ask a question. What can I do to support either of you?
so I actually put a question in the chat because I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna lose her. She's gonna be
Oh, I
taking too
answered
long.
that earlier, but I know
Oh, I
I didn't
didn't.
know if you were listening in
I
two
couldn't.
places.
No, I had it real low because yeah.
No, that's all right. So the answer is no, you don't want to use that, and you definitely don't want to use that in conjunction with an LLC at the end if you don't have the business actually set up.
Okay.
If you're just wanting to use it as essentially a DBA, meaning that you're not going to set up the LLC part, but new knowledge just as a standalone is available.
Uh-huh.
You could use that, assuming that it's not also being used by somebody else, like in the national arena. So you don't want to just look at state. If you're going to be
Okay.
online, you want to look at federal
Okay.
level registrations. You want to spend a lot of time on Google looking and making sure that nobody's already using that as their intellectual property.
Uh-huh. Well, it was available as a domain
That doesn't
too.
mean anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to spend a lot of time on Google hunting around and seeing are people using that as a business name. Just because they don't own the domain doesn't mean that the IP is not already in use.
Okay. And then if I settle on it, you wouldn't use LLC as part of the name?
If you actually form the business, yes. If you have not formed the business, you absolutely do not put LLC because that would be a misrepresentation to your
Okay.
audience that you have a formal business entity when you don't.
Okay.
So you do not use LLC unless you get documents back from the state that are your formation documents of that LLC.
Okay. Um, I listened to your first podcast.
You did? That was so nice of you.
Yeah. So is that your first one ever, or did you used to do them?
No, first one ever.
So that's my thing. My thing's going to be educating people through a podcast,
Mm,
and having people call in and tell their stories and have professionals on
nice.
explaining like, what could have been done in the area of getting organized with documents and
Yeah,
personal information. So
yeah.
how did you find it to be like to get to the point where you actually got it done and
Yeah. So it's still a bit of a process. Like I stayed up way too late last night trying to record another episode. I think I'll get more accustomed to it. It's, especially the solo episodes, it's hard for me to show up and talk to myself. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll get a little bit more used to that hopefully as I go along. But I love the conversation around business, period, like full stop. I love talking business with people. And so, really, the motivating factor was like, I already talk a lot of business with people on a weekly basis. Like, why not do this in the context of a podcast?
Yeah.
And then I can just do some short little, solo episodes on topic specific stuff or teaching points or whatever. And so, I don't know. It felt fun. It seemed like a fun thing to try. And the focus of the conversations themselves, like I really wanted it to be, because so many people are just in hard spots right now, from, I mean,
Yeah.
even like talking with Carol about, relationships and being in a house full time with two wild little munchkins. And, it's really hard for people to get breaks, and for entrepreneurs that are also building their businesses. Like there's just so much. It's definitely a time of compression for a lot of people. And so I just thought, it could be really interesting to have conversations about perseverance, about the fact, and whether COVID exists or not, the path of entrepreneurship is a marathon, not a sprint. And people need to remember that it is like, you have to have some serious long-term commitments to stay in the game. And the thing that I'm enjoying, even in my first few guests, is like really talking about the hard parts of that path, the hard parts of that journey, and how often our best decisions get made as a result of being in a really hard place. And so I don't want people to feel bad about being in a hard place or feel worried that they're somehow doing something wrong. Like that's part of the journey. And we go through hard times and we experience those compression points, and our opportunities that we make better decisions, we get more focused and streamlined coming out of those, so that we actually are making the decisions that make us, that create our success. So we'll see. That's the
Cool.
idea behind the podcast, but I think it'll be fun.
Cool. I'll go ahead and let Catherine talk.
Yeah,
Then I
absolutely.
have.
Catherine, I can't
Yeah.
hear you. I think you're muted, so I can't hear you at all. But let's see. I don't see anything on my side. You might need to get into your audio settings there. I see you're muted again. Now you're unmuted. So let's try again. I can't hear you now. You might need to get into your audio settings for Zoom. Make sure that you've selected the right, like you have to go in to your microphone settings. I don't know if you've got a built-in microphone or if you have like a set of headphones you could plug in, but you might just try playing around with those settings. Not working. Don't see anything. The other thing you could try is you could click out of Zoom and come back in to see if it's something about the connection.
Using your audio, using your join audio.
Oh yeah.
You can also go over to the right, and the bottom of your screen where you have like your own
your own settings on your
speakers,
computer.
where your speakers are. Like sometimes you're down really low, like your speaker might be turned off on
Oh
your
yeah.
side. So I've had to turn my volume up and down. Sometimes I've been super loud, and sometimes they can't hear me. But over on the far right where the little audio symbol is, click on that and see if your speaker's on high enough volume.
Shoot, yeah, I can't hear you. Catherine, you could also type a question in the chat. If you're on a computer and you want to use the chat box, you could pop a question in there and I can still answer it. Oh, there's Emma.
So I had one other thing. So I had asked you about talking with you, but you said go to your calendar. Your calendar didn't have anything until like the end of this week or something. And I said, well, I'll try to get on Monday.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I'm going to be on that JVology thing.
Oh,
And I've been
great.
doing the JV, and I know you're like a master at it because you're constantly inviting
Emma.
to other
Yes,
things. So
I'm a big
I
fan.
still just wanted to get some time with you. But I didn't put it on the calendar because it
Okay.
seemed so far away. So maybe before we hang up here, we can decide what to
Yeah,
do on
my
that.
calendar is packed. That is
Yeah.
just the reality. I am
Yeah.
literally booked solid. This, aside
Whoa,
from
that
that
was
introductory call, hi
loud.
Emma. Aside from the introductory call spots, like
Uh-huh.
I literally am booked. Like my life is so crazy right now. So
Yeah.
this really is a good time to pop in, get questions answered, or that introductory calendar.
Okay.
If you've got something I can help with in the context of a group, I'm happy to try to help, or you can also email me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. My calendar is insane. I've got my VA trying to help me with that, but I'm just so many demands on my calendar right now. Emma, how are you? Good to see you.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
somebody?
And Catherine, if you're
Okay.
able, I don't know if you're typing, maybe you are typing in the chat already. I know Catherine's got a question too, but we can't get her
Okay.
audio to work. Emma, how
Oh,
can I help?
yeah. The course that I'm teaching for realtors, I'm telling them things that are, I'll say, generalities,
Mhm.
and they bring up an issue that if they tell a client something, they hold them to it and they can become liable. So in the introduction to the course, I wanted to say something like, in a way that you do, I can't give you legal
Mhm.
advice. I can just
Mhm.
tell you. So I was wondering how to kind of word that, that this is for their background information and
Mhm.
reference to advise their client who to go to for, the professional um, word, I guess you can say. How is there a better way to say that?
So say it again. Your course is about.
Well, it's about a lot of different things.
Mhm.
I'm telling them reference material that I have for return on investments, kind of what percentage of their investment
Mm.
they get for that. Um, estimates how much a project would cost, um,
Mm.
advice who they can go get this kind of information. And so if they tell them a price from my charts to the client, oh, well, taking this wall out, it's going to be $5,000. And they go to a contractor and they say, no, it's going to be 10.
Mhm.
They get pissed off with the realtor to say, oh, you told me this. And so
Mm.
they can get into kind of a snag.
Yeah.
So it's, like I say, telling them this is for reference material, it's for your
Mhm.
education.
That's right.
Um,
No, that's the right language. This is educational only. These are not bids. Nobody is tied to these numbers. This is, I mean, talking just about what you generally see in the marketplace versus attaching that number to a specific contractor or a specific referral
yeah,
source, right? So just saying, generally in the marketplace, this is what I see, and maybe providing a range. This to this is what's typical for this kind of a project, this to this for a bathroom remodel, that, or whatever. But,
right.
just using that language a lot about this is informational only, you're gonna, your project may be outside of this scope, or you may have things that are unique about your project that, don't fit within, what I'm telling you here, and that's fine. This is just to, as a starting point for your education.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I was on
Yeah.
the track.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. I think, verbally just reminding of that is really helpful so that, you've got, and if you want to write it to have written disclaimers, but verbally just reminding people at the point that you're giving the instruction, remember, informational only, like you've got to go out into the marketplace and do your own homework, but here's generally what I see.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. No, good question. All right, Catherine. So let me look at your question. I'm most interested in the tools that spice up your content. Is it content and engagement? It says contender and engagement. Content and engagement using custom registration, practice mode, etc. So are you able to restate that question? I'm not sure that I actually understand what you're asking. Um, no worries. So frustrating when our technology doesn't allow us to have audio, huh? Um, do you have a phone? You could try connecting through the Zoom link on your phone if you've got a smartphone. That might work better, and then I'd actually be able to hear you and we could chat about it. Emma, how are you doing? So did I also see your email that you have not yet implemented the website protection package stuff? Let's talk about
Yes.
that. What do you need? What's getting in the way? Is it scheduling
Something
issue? Is there
specific.
something
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. Part of it is having a tech person. I think I have a tech person to put it on the website and everything, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
taking my time to fill in those few particular things to me
Yep.
and then get that. I've got it in file here. But
Just
yeah.
schedule it. There's really not a lot to fill in. I mean, on the terms of purchase, you're going to have a little bit just around services, defining your services.
Yeah.
right? But it's on the rest of it, it's literally business name, contact information. Like it's really basic stuff as far as the, the space holders, location specific stuff as well for the dispute resolution clauses, etc. But you should be able to get everything except for the terms of purchase, which is just going to be related to a sales funnel, like literally done in 5 minutes, and then have them ready to plug in. So if you
Yeah.
need to piecemeal it out, set the terms of purchase to one side, because that takes a little bit of drafting around what the services are, putting a 2 or 3 sentence description in for the course. You know what I mean? That might take a little bit of just thinking about it and drafting that language. But the website terms and conditions, the privacy policy, very straightforward. Like
Okay.
schedule 30 minutes max. You'll be done with those. And then if you need a website person to help you plug them in, did you meet Matthew McGregor at JVology?
Yeah.
Reach out to Matthew. Say, Matthew, what would you charge me to take, an hour and get this stuff plugged into my site? I need help and I lost my website person.
Okay. Yeah, I've got his contact. Like I said, I think I have somebody. I'm going to talk to them tomorrow.
Lined
too.
up. Okay, perfect. So if you have any questions around, getting those plugged in, let me know. But at least get your website terms and conditions, your privacy policy plugged in, and then you've got that earnings and income disclaimer as well because you are working with people in the industry. So make sure that also shows up at the bottom of your site, right? And that's a shorter document. Again, its own separate link right alongside those other two. But the terms of purchase is the only one that's kind of the outlier for you. That shows up at or immediately before the point of checkout. And that document just requires a little bit more finagling, a little bit of drafting, but still not much. It's like 2 paragraphs, right? So just literally carve out like 30 minutes in your calendar, get the first bit tackled, and then just get somebody to help you get those plugged in. You got it. Good to see you, Emma. All right, Catherine. Let's see. I'm most interested. Okay. Didn't know if you'd been able to update that question. Or either that or try connecting from a smartphone if you've got one. Nope. Stacy, anything else that I can support you with?
So, yeah, well, so this is my thing. I'm trying to do too many things, right? So I'm
Oh my
trying to
gosh.
I'm
I
trying
can
to build
really,
my team.
yeah.
I'm talking to somebody today that knows how to build teams, and she's really good at business strategizing and stuff like that. But I do need a legal advisor. So I
Okay.
wanted to find out what your, what and in the context of probably a personal conversation,
Yeah.
what you would be willing to do if you saw I have like a pitch deck together and what is I'm trying to do, and see if you would be willing to come help me get this thing launched with, I mean, I don't know how you do, if you do billable
Yeah.
hours, if you do a set price,
Well,
what
and
you
for
do.
that, if it's more of a startup mode, so most of the businesses that I serve are actually not on the startup path. That's quite a different path. If you're going to startup where you're looking for venture capital, you're looking for outside funding, you are going to want somebody who works in that area, right? And that's people who are in that mode. Generally, they're looking to build a business that they, grow to some amount in like 5 years, and then they spin off and sell, right? That's really the startup path. And for people that are looking for outside funding, venture capital, that kind of is the path. The folks that I serve are primarily building businesses that they want to be in for a very long time. So it's a different path. They're building a business that's usually like based around, a solo entrepreneur, maybe a small team, either in the context of employees or independent contractors, but it's a different business model. So what I'd probably want to do is get you some referrals and connections to people that really live in the startup world, right? Are used to helping support businesses get venture capital, get funding, etc. That's quite a bit different than what I do, actually.
Well, so I was thinking that I was more the the second
Mhm.
version, what you said, like
Oh, okay.
run the business. But I do see where if I can get it actually working in my own backyard, even though it's online,
Mhm.
that I could franchise it because it could be state specific because of what
Mhm.
I'm doing. But the other thing that's just like this question in my brain is like, how do you get from point A to point B? So if I was able to pitch the idea to somebody that actually could see a bigger picture,
Mhm.
I think it would go perfect, like with what Susie Orman is doing. It's one
Mhm.
step beyond. She's already doing one part of it.
Mhm.
But so I just don't know where to go with it, and so
Yeah.
that's the thing. So maybe I could take you up on some of your referral people,
Totally.
but
Yeah. Drop me an email. Remind me, and the email is partly so my VA sees it and helps me get it in the pipeline for gathering those referrals and getting back to you.
okay.
In the email, remind me your location in California, give me just like a quick 2-sentence thing, 2 or 3 sentences about what you're looking for. I'll pop it out to my listserv and get some referrals for you. But
Mhm.
I think even if you're in the world of getting some outside funding initially, that's still enough different from what I do that I'd want to get you connected with somebody who can help you with that path. The franchise path is also, again, quite a different path. There are people that really specialize in franchise law. I've got some
Right.
local connections here in Seattle that do that.
Right.
But I could reach out and see if I can get some based in California as well. Because if that's where you're starting,
Mhm.
you'd probably want to start with a franchise attorney based in California. Franchises are federally regulated, but there's also some interpretation that happens at the state level, because there's usually to create a franchise, you've got certain, like, three factors that are usually all met. And anyways, I just want you to connect with somebody who really specializes in that area, because franchise law is a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and that is down the road, obviously,
Hmm.
but I'm
Hmm.
just thinking that it could be that way.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
if you're headed, I mean, if you have that idea that you could be headed down that path, I'd want you to have good advice from the start.
mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, I thought I was looking for funding, but I might be able to self fund if I could get if I could get some people to see the vision with me and
Yeah.
not, I can't be paying everybody retainers and all this stuff for their portion. So that's kind of, I guess,
There's a really interesting model. Have you heard of slicing pie? Google the slicing pie method or the slicing pie model.
okay,
You might find some of that information really helpful. It is about basically scrappy startups that do just that. They find people to support them in different roles, and they give them equity rather than, like a
right,
retainer or some other
right,
payment.
right,
But it's based around the philosophy that you're able to measure inputs so that you can
yeah,
determine equity,
all right,
and that adjusts over time. So you have to have a way to measure people's inputs, but there's a whole tutorial around it. There are attorneys that are able to implement that method with their clients. So you might poke around that website and do a little
okay,
bit of self education around their model to see if it
yeah.
might be a fit.
Yeah, because I was thinking of something like that, but then I was
Mhm.
thinking too, like, let's say I could get somebody, and I'm going to use you as an example, like, it's like, okay, what's your regular price that you would charge for this, whatever, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I will pay you double or triple that on the other side. Like, if you
Mhm.
believe in it, you should be able to do that. Like, it's that valuable to me, and that was my problem is I couldn't figure out measure of the input to do an equity
Mhm.
share if I
Totally.
did everybody like that.
Yeah, I would go take advantage of the tutorial videos around that
Okay,
slicing pie
okay,
model and see if you feel like that's a framework that would work
okay,
for you.
perfect, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, all right. So, Catherine, I wish that I understood the context for your question. I'm not sure the tools that spice up your content and engagement using custom registration, practice mode, etc. When will the replay be available? I'm not sure what that reference is, the replay of this call. So I post these calls when I record them onto my YouTube channel, but I'm not sure the context of the other stuff that you're talking about, the tools, the custom registration, practice mode, etc. So probably the best thing is maybe you can take down my email. It's info@legalwebsitewarrior.com, and either drop me a question via email or, oh, those are lines from your email. Contender and engagement? That's really interesting. What email did I send that had those lines? Are you sure it was my email? That does not ring a bell at all. Something sneak in there that I didn't see. Was it from my email today? Was it from yesterday's email? I sent one out yesterday. Content, yeah. Still, tools that spice up your content and engagement. I'm just feeling like I'm totally out in the dark. I have no context for this because I do not remember that being in an email. Was that an email from yesterday? Was it a recent email? Was it one of my, oh, thank you, sweetie. Was it one of my JV folks that I mentioned yesterday? We've got JVology Live happening this week. We've got Alina's. Yeah, that's right. I was so confused. So thank you for clarifying, because I was like, I am just not recognizing this at all. All right. Well, hopefully you can contact that person and get the support that you need. So sorry about that disconnect, but I'm glad we figured it out. Is there anything else, Catherine, that I can support you with today? I was like, wow, I'm a lot lower on sleep than I thought I was. Got it. Nope, that's all right. No worries, Catherine. And I've got lots, there's a whole backlog of these calls, by the way, already on my YouTube channel. You can check out the notes from each one, because there, I mean, some of the shows I've covered like 12, 14 questions across a really wide variety of things in business. So you're welcome to pop back on. That's just, if you go to youtube.com, it's /Heather P. Campbell. And you'll get to my main page, and I've got a series of, I've got a series of playlists that you'll find, and I've got a playlist created for all of my Ask Me Anything live. So check out those, because we cover a lot of questions from week to week. Some weeks I haven't posted recordings because 1 or 2 people showed up and they were short conversations, but some weeks I've had 6 or 8 people on the call and they stayed for a full hour or 90 minutes. So yeah, check out those replays. If you've got any questions, look at the notes and you'll see what topics get covered. All right. Well, great to see everybody. I'm going to sign off for now. It's noon. Excuse me. Hope everybody takes care. Emma and Stacy, follow up via email with me, and let me know if you need any other support. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you get the right website person on the line for you to help you get that stuff plugged in. I got to get you over the finish line. I'm not giving up. All right. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Great to
Bye-bye.
connect with you
Thank
all.
you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, let me, oh, no, I don't need it. Never mind. I don't need the chat, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think a lot happened in the chat today.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.